Conversations with G, and I'm the G part of that. I wanted to make this video because if you've listened to the show or know me from some of the other work I do, or Bethany, who's the host on the show, we are forever saying, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. Now, it's really hard for people to hear that. It takes a while for that to sink in. So I wanted to take the opportunity to really explain what I meant by that, which is why I called this video, Your Pure, Perfect, Pristine, Original Self. The you that never got conditioned. And rather than try to go into it theoretically and convince you that it's there, I want to tell you a story from my own life. I was about 19, and I kind of had a rather weird childhood, got involved in a lot of stuff that didn't really quite serve me, a lot of drugs and that sort of thing, as did every kid growing up in the 60s, especially as a musician on top of that, right? So, I mean, I was like doubly damned. Anyway, at 19, I realized that I'd been doing drugs since I was 15, so I realized that this had really had to stop. It was going to go nowhere, and it was not an easy thing to do. And it had stopped being fun a long time ago. It had become a habit, and it was just kind of like what you did. And one particular night, I was with a bunch of people, and mind you, during this whole period of time, through my whole life, I've had all these rather amazing spiritual experiences, really intense insights and psychic experiences and all sorts of stuff. So even so, I was still a drugged-out hippie. On this particular night, I've been trying to make this transition. I really wanted to change my life. I wanted to stop doing all that stuff. But of course, my life revolved around it. The people, I knew everything I did. I was a musician, for crying out loud. I mean, you couldn't get away from it. But I was trying. I really wanted to get out of it. I wanted to change myself. I was getting serious about my life. And on this particular night, I was sitting with a bunch of people, and we were doing bowls of hash. You don't know what hashish is. It's a very powerful form of pot. It's kind of pot reduced down to the part that gets you high, and then you take a whole bunch of it in a glob, and then you smoke that. And I got totally wasted. But what happened was extremely painful. It felt as though I lost control of my bodily functions. I thought I was going to shit myself. I couldn't speak. My throat was tightened up. I had so much anxiety. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I thought I was going to die right then. I looked around the room and people's faces looked distorted. Everything anybody said I thought was about me. It was horrible. It was hellish. It was nightmarish. Without a word, I just got up and left. I don't know if anybody even noticed if I left, but not a word. I just got up and left, and I started to walk. And I walked, and I walked, and I walked, and I walked. And I was living in a town in Wisconsin, and as I was walking, I went over this bridge, and there was a river, and it was nighttime, but there were lights on, and I could see down the river. And I knew this river. It used to be one of the cleanest rivers in the country, and at that point it was polluted, totally polluted, and it was a mess, and it's all red and yucky. And I sat there and I stared into this river. I stopped walking at the bridge, and I stared down into this ugly, murky water, just horrified, just in pain, in panic, in terror. And I started to ruminate about how horrible everything was, how horrible the world was, and this beautiful river that was totally destroyed with pollution. And as I was standing there was a quiet little voice inside of me that said, "Look closer, Greg." And by this time, I was actually used to those voices. It wasn't it wasn't that big of a surprise. But I wasn't actually expecting one at that particular time. So I really did put my attention on the water, and it said, "Look really close, look really close." And I started getting a picture. It was like I was zooming in down to the molecules of the water. and it said, "Look at the water." And I looked really closely, and it said, "Look, the water isn't corrupted. The water isn't polluted. The pollution and the water are mixed up in such a way that you cannot tell them apart. But the water is still the same pure, pristine water it's always been. And if you just separate the two, you're going to have the same pure water that was always there." And it dawned on me like a bright light coming out of the sky. That is what I was. That no matter what was going on in my life, all the stuff that was in my body, everything that I had done was just the pollution which had never actually bonded to me. That I was, in fact, still the same pristine self I had always been. And at that moment, all of the influence of the drug vanished. The pain vanished. The terror vanished. My eyes brightened. My entire body relaxed, and I was straight as a pin. There was no more effect of the drug. I just kind of floated back home after that. It was a turning point, because never again did I fall for the idea that somehow I was broken and corrupted and all messed up and that I had to be fixed. That wasn't the end of my journey with drugs. It took a while before I finally got rid of all of it and all of the habits that had been messing up my life and established myself in a way that was progressive and useful in building a future. Before I made a whole bunch of other stupid mistakes that I had to work through as well. But never again did I fall for the idea that it was me. Yeah, stuff happens, it gets all absorbed, it gets so mixed up, and it's hard to separate it. It's hard to pull the two apart. It's hard to see what's true and what isn't. It's hard to see what's you and what isn't sometimes. But the you that's there, even if you can't see it, and even if you can't see clearly enough to separate the two at this point, you are that perfect, pristine self that has never, ever been tainted. I just want you to get that, because when I say it, I say it from the bottom of my heart. If you can grasp it, it will change your life forever. Thanks for listening. This is G.P. Walsh, conversationswithg.com, and I look forward to seeing you.